So there's a couple of things I really would love to talk about today. One being my experience diving deep into basketball. Again, actually, I found when I was younger, it was one of those things I would just do as a sort of therapeutic ritual. And yeah, it's one of the main things I feel playing basketball, or at least shooting hoops and introducing myself into the game again, really comes down to just introducing playfulness. Being playful, allowing yourself to explore your environment and be absorbed in this playful state, just having a ball in your hand, throwing it around, bouncing it off objects, and just being in that flow with the basketball. Because, that's something I immediately found, was having that object, that physical object, much like in flow art, that is essentially the center of where you are drawn, the center of where you're going. You bounce this object off the things, and suddenly now you have this external dimension that roots you into a different part of your physical experience. You're not so fixated on, I say, the mind, because now you root into the body and in the extension of the body. That's really the core thing I would say. It's rooting yourself in an object that is extending outside of yourself. And again, I feel within flow art or flow performance, when using flow props, this is a very natural piece of it. So to introduce a dimension of that where you're now playing a game that is using this same concept, I think it's definitely something that's resonated a lot with me. And it's offered me a lot of means to explore more in a more playful and open way. And it's interesting, the more I think of this, when I was at the Flow Jam the other week, I actually saw a bunch of flow artists playing volleyball, but with juggling pins. All of them were just in this state where each of them had multiple juggling pins, and they were introducing this game on top of the multitude of, I'd say, dimension work that they're exploring with their prop. And this actually makes me think of the conversation I had with a friend a few weeks back at Flow Jam. Essentially, what I enjoy, and what I would love to do further, is essentially introducing a narrative when you are, say, doing flow arts, and more so in a performance capacity. Simply, it's almost like introducing choreography with a narrative, right? Say you're doing flow, and you're with a friend, and this works beautifully at a flow jam because there's all these kindred spirits. You're all just flowing together. There's maybe some narrative that you just let out of, like, this person's maybe betrayed the village, or they've disgraced your lineage, or something, like you're maybe samurais in a time, or you're some sort of warrior who's in combat, and you're now having this narrative that you're trying to defend your honor, or something like that, right? Introducing narratives, it just seems like a fun, playful dimension to expand deeper into what this prop can be. It's introducing choreography, introducing this dimension of acting and playing around, and it's just these kind of things. Like, this is what I feel so beautiful, when these sort of worlds collide in a very playful way. So that's a huge piece of it, was carrying this object around me, with me, and constantly having that means to tune and root myself more so outside of my physical body and extend into an object. I really feel that's just a very therapeutic practice as a whole. It allows you to tune out of your mind and into your body and into your environment in such a creative way. Another thing I really liked about introducing myself into basketball again is essentially getting to that mentality of healthy competition. Very at the heart of it, just the most wholesome form of competition, where it's like you can challenge someone to a game of basketball. When you get to this point, you can really just share each other's presence just with this game. This competition that is, in the nature of it, all lighthearted and fun. And I think really putting emphasis on lighthearted competition is something that we in society, and especially as men, do not do enough. And I think we all can see the value in completely lighthearted, playful competition. And to have it with something that's so, I would say, fulfilling and so primal as something like basketball where you're running, you're jumping. It's a really brilliant game. Like I found I've always been really stricken by the game and the culture and the way that this game, for some reason, the way it's been built and the way that it's evolved, I've really noticed it sets itself apart from a lot of other sports that I observe, particularly in the culture. So that's something that I notice I really genuinely want to dive deeper within. It's just the basketball culture. So in truth, these are the kind of things that I think of. You know, the playfulness, the healthy camaraderie and competition, the healthy competition. These kind of things I think are really healthy things to reinforce, and this is what I feel like I took away from just diving into basketball. Playing it for pretty much every day for like 3 or 4 weeks now. You know, if you can relate, if this is something you have a curiosity to get into, I highly recommend it. Just do it, man. It's one of these things. Life is meant to be explored. Try new things. Really, you'll be surprised.